Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited that we are bringing you yet another PCOS Girl live series for PCOS Awareness Month. And today I'm going to have a very special guest joining me. And there she is now, the Zap Master, Stephanie Shields. I am going to invite her to the live, so bear with me for one moment. Sending the invitation. And there she is. Voila, modern technology. I love it. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal. We are in the middle of PCOS Awareness Month. I'm still standing, so that's a good thing.
Win-win. I'm taking the win.
Win-win. Yes, and I am thrilled that you are with me tonight, and we are going to talk a lot about the skin, electrology, and PCOS. We're going to really dig into some things, and we might even talk a little Wookiee.
Oh yeah. Give you a
Definitely.
little.
I love it. So I would love to start off by you telling everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you got involved in doing this with the PCOS community.
So interestingly enough, so one, I'm an electrologist and laser technician. I'm celebrating my 19th year in business this year. And I was raised, I'm second generation at this. So like I was raised in the industry. And I'm Italian, so we were fuzzy. I didn't quite understand when I was a kid the gravity of that fuzz, but I definitely, when I hit 18 and I got diagnosed with PCOS myself, it all started kind of clicking, right? Things that I was seeing on my table, that kind of stuff. My personal passion is in education, which is why I was so excited when you brought me on here, because I love to teach about one, advocacy is teaching, okay? It's talking and teaching, okay? Two, this is my background. Education is my, like, that's my love language, okay? And hair removal it's a passion for me because I've gotten to help so many people along the way with hirsutism in general, but it was more, I don't know, it hit harder knowing that I struggled with it myself. So that's a little bit of my background, but I've been in the education side of electrolysis for well over a decade on the professional side. And then I used to do conventions and talk about hair removal to potential patients even before that. So when we transitioned it to education, that was about 10, 12 years ago.
That's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about this. Let's educate a little bit about this. So about 80% of patients with PCOS have hirsutism, which is excess facial and body hair. And the excess facial and body hair is a symptom of androgen excess. Now, for many like myself, having to deal with excess facial and body hair is probably one of the most stigmatizing symptoms of PCOS. So I guess the first thing that I want to learn from you is, how do we deal with the hirsutism as far as how do you identify a patient that might have PCOS when somebody comes in to see you and you're seeing like certain pattern? Is there a certain pattern that you
Absolutely.
see?
Absolutely. So hirsutism, when we're measuring the scale of it, there are going to be certain zones of your body that you're seeing an excess of growth. Every mammal has hair. Okay. So hair is normal. It is the level in which it's present that indicates something is off. Okay. So a lot of times with our PCOS patients, we're going to see it a lot through the male pattern beard growth throughout the face. Okay. We'll see it on the chest, abdomen, inner thighs, and lower back. Those are our primary portions of it. You'll see hair accelerate everywhere, but those are the areas that it starts to tell us, okay, something is off here. There are also levels of how we scale hirsutism. So when we talk about the scale of that, you guys will see on all of my social content, when I talk about the scales of hair, I'm talking about how prevalent it is on that individual to its essentially its severity for the patient. Okay, so I will explain on my own self because I can do that. When I had when I had electrolysis done originally, I had electrolysis on my upper lip at 12 years old. And then I kind of moved into other areas of my body as my hormones became more chaotic, new hair started to surface. Now, like my heritage, being an Italian woman with hair, okay, I was already going to be more fuzzy than, say, my counterparts that did not have that as their background. But we started to notice a problem when it went into certain patterns. And that was along the jawline, upper lip and chin is when it started to accelerate. So if you guys see my old pictures, I used to have like some substantial sideburns. I always had a shadow right here on the corners of my lip. And now in my late 30s, I get incidental ones on my chin that weren't there when I was younger because my hormones shifted yet again. And that's the hardship of a PCOS patient. Because we are chasing inactive and active follicles throughout their journey, that's why it feels like it takes longer. Because we are attacking what's here and present and waiting for stuff to possibly come into play.
Okay, so since you brought it up, let's talk about this a little bit. You were talking about active and inactive. So I know a lot of times when people go to have electrology, they think, I'm going to go and do it, and then I'm done with the hair. But that's not really so much the case. It takes care of, I guess, the hair that's there, but it may not take care of the hair that comes later because of some of the hormone imbalance still.
Correct.
So I would love you to talk about that.
You start off with certain stimulated follicles throughout your life, okay? And those certain stimulated follicles, we can treat when we see them, okay? Because we don't have a crystal ball, we can't treat the future, okay? But what we can do is we can treat what we're seeing now. Now, there's going to be a couple other things to think about here. What has the patient been doing previous to receiving permanent hair removal? That will also change how that looks, okay? So, for example, a patient who has been waxing for decades does not know the true gravity and amount of the hair that is there versus a patient who is shaving, okay? Because what happens is your hair growth cycle on your face is approximately 13 to 16 weeks, okay? So that means that you're only seeing the same group of hairs come through in that cycle over and over. Now, if a patient is shaving, we are seeing those hairs kind of all the time in different stages of growth. And so you have a better idea of the actual amount of active follicles, stuff that is currently problematic, okay? But if we're waxing, if we think we wax, let's say once a month, okay? And we wanna go with a 16-week growth cycle. And I'm just doing it for easy math, okay? Because 4 goes into 16. So if we think about this, we won't know what that truly looks like unless they stop waxing for 16 weeks prior to ever coming in and seeing their electrologist. I'm not saying everybody drop their waxing. I mean, I am saying it, but I'm not telling you to do it. I'm saying that, like, if we want to do something about it, we got to do that. But I am saying that if you're starting this journey, you won't truly know what your active growth looks like until we stop the epilation, the waxing of our hairs. Okay. And when I say waxing, I'm talking any type of pull, waxing, threading, tweezing. If you're ripping that hair out, it takes 16 weeks for that hair to come back in, approximately.
Okay, so then here is my question, because I know I'm always plucking and shaving, and yeah, I know. I knew I was going to get the eyes for that. And because, like, I'm so afraid and so self-conscious about anything showing up. So what do we do before we go to electrology? Because we have to let some of that grow in, right?
For at least 4 days of growth before your electrolysis session.
Okay.
So what do we do? Okay, so my
Right.
first recommendation is going to be trim it down, okay? If we think about trimming versus shaving, shaving does nothing to stimulate hair growth. Otherwise, every bald man in existence that bicks his head would have a full head of hair, because that's stimulation if we were to think about it, right? That's not what we're doing when we're cutting hair. You're making a hair healthy at the end, but that's it, okay? Now, a shave versus a pluck. A shaved hair, okay, is a blunted edge. And I wonder if I have a pen back here. Oh, I don't have one within reach. So if we think about like a pen tip, okay, and we click it and that pen pops back down, that's a blunt edge now. It's no longer tapered, okay? So what ends up happening is now we have a blunt edge that feels hard. That hair was already thick at the base, okay? But it does nothing to stimulate growth. Now, where people get tripped up on this is when they start shaving in their teens and they go through puberty and they have androgen excess, their body was already bringing us those follicles, and now we just made it look and feel yucky. But when we go in there and we tweeze it, we epilate it, we wax it, what ends up happening is you have stem cells and blood flow that feeds that hair, and it gets activated. And your body's natural response to this is to then create more hair and or better climate for it to grow in. And so you can stimulate hirsutism-based growth in these patterns. Now, if you were waxing your legs or your arms or your eyebrows, these are not the same type of hairs that I'm talking about in the hirsutism areas, okay? But when I talked about your face, your areolas, your abdomen, your inner thigh, your back, that is 100% areas that are stimulated through hormonal change and can increase if we're messing with them.
So all this time I've been sitting here thinking I'm doing a good thing with plucking. I'm actually sabotaging myself is what you're telling me.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is like, I tell my patients all the time, until you get to a space that we can work in that zone, and this comes down to that, where you are in that scale of hirsutism, okay? If I'm having to move into new areas, I need you to understand that I'm not expecting you to stop tweezing or waxing everything, but you need to stop where we're working, okay?
Right.
So if I'm going to be going at your face, right, I need you to stop waxing your face. And you can use tools like Calm has a shaver. There's one on my Amazon store that is, oh my gosh, what is that one called? That one is it is out of my brain. That's what it is. It's out of my brain. It's going to come up and I'm going to say it all of a sudden and be like, oh, it's this.
Epilator is
It's not an epilator. It's a shaver. But anyways, okay. any of those little electric shavers, they bring it down to the surface and they don't do anything to irritate your skin.
Okay.
On top of this, if we're bringing it down to the skin, we need to consider the fact that in many cases, hirsutism comes with a little bit of flawless. Yes, thank you, Nicole. Evelo Aiken, that's another electrology friend of mine who's also a PCOS advocate and patient, and she is, yes, the flawless is where it's at. Thank you. And the no-no is okay, but the thing is like the no-no does do minor epilation, and so you have to go, okay, like if I'm starting electrolysis, I'm not going to be using a no-no. I'm going to be using a flawless because all I'm doing is cutting the hair. Okay. So it's like any of those little home laser units, you're going to stimulate growth. Hey, any of those home laser units, you're going to stimulate growth in most cases. The other part of this is there are levels to watch for your skin tone, your body's chemistry, that kind of stuff. The professional is going to have that over Costco. Okay. Right. And that's just because at the end of the day, there's a reason why we went to school for hair removal. It's because it takes a professional. Okay. But yes, in between, you can shave it. You can, I'm not a huge fan of nairing it, but you can nair it if you don't have any chemical burn. Okay. Yeah, like spot test. Don't do it.
Yeah, no. I know. I got the cringe, the pain cringe as soon as you said that. So,
but shaving, using the Calm, using the Flawless, using any of those eyebrows shavers. If you guys go back to my TikTok, you guys will see me. I'll shave my face on screen for you guys just to show you I'm not getting stimulated growth by trimming it down. They help you in between. Okay. And then it's going to be like up to you and your technician of how frequently you should come in for your body, for your skin. Okay. And what the problem really looks like on a professional level.
Right. So let me ask you another question about types of hair and hair patterns. With me, I notice I have, like, in those hormonally sensitive areas, that really coarse, thick hair, and that's probably, as we just figured out, from me plucking as much as I do. And I also get, like, fuzzy hair, like, off to the sides a little bit. Is that still, like, part of the whole hirsutism with PCOS, or are those maybe two different things? Like, one might be because of my cultural background and the other is from PCOS.
So a little bit, yes, a little bit of both. Okay. So okay. You have three different types of hair that as an electrologist and laser technician we talk about. You have terminal, accelerated vellus, and vellus hair. Terminal hair is what we consider on your underarms, your bikini line, thick beard pattern growth, thick hairs. That's a terminal hair. And really what it just means is it's maxed out its potential for growth. Okay. So people hear terminal and they're like, but it's maxed out its potential. Accelerated vellus is a transitional type of hair. Okay. With an accelerated vellus hair, we're usually dealing with the stuff that's over on the corners, the sun catchers that we catch in the car, we catch in our bathroom mirror. Those are those ones that kind of just glow. They're longer than what we would consider peach fuzz, but they are, in many cases, still aesthetically less pleasing to most patients.
Right.
Okay. And then you have vellus. Vellus is going to be like what you see here on the upper cheeks, unless you have severe hirsutism. It's what you have up here. It's what you have on the back of your hands. Okay. Unless the hirsutism is severe, that's that peach fuzz that doesn't really catch makeup. It's just there as a soft filter for your skin's oil production. Okay. Now, when I go after like helping set up a treatment plan for my patients, I talk to my patient about what do we want to focus on first. Okay. We want to focus on what is, even if it's accelerated vellus hair and it's not necessarily like thick and unruly, if it's what's bothering you first, you focus on that and you work into the areas that are less problematic. Okay. But in many cases, terminal growth, which is going to be usually in the chin area, corners of the lip, throughout the neck area, those are going to be the areas you start with first. We also talk about, we do tolerance tests. So can your skin handle large volume hair removal? And do you have the hair for large volume hair removal? Because the other part is we are our own worst critic. Okay. In many cases, we walk in there and we're like, I am so hairy.
Right.
And then we have to go, are we really so hairy, or is the hair that we have bothering us? Okay.
Right.
Because you're a mammal, you got the hair. Okay. So we're all so hairy. But to what level does that bother you? And then as you're breaking that down with your technician, you guys can build a treatment plan that, 1, becomes affordable, and 2, does not overtreat the skin, and 3, gives you the look that you're trying to go for.
Which is awesome, because you just did a wonderful segue for me here, because there's this, and it's 2 things. First of all, when we're talking about treatment plans, when you're talking to your patients, are you just talking specifically about the skin and about electrology, or do you also talk to them about maybe they also need to talk to their doctor about other options to help with the hormones?
Oh, all of my patients that come in
and I think we just paused here.
Oh, you there?
There she is. There she is. Hi,
Okay.
welcome back.
So what do we do? When I have a patient come to me, obviously I cannot diagnose you, right? I'm an electrologist. I'm a specialist, okay? I'm a laser technician. I'm a specialist. I'm who you come to, and in many cases, the first person you come to, because it was making you feel a little crazy when the hairs were there, okay? Many people will not talk about their hair problem with anybody but their electrologist, and even their doctors do not know the severity of what they're going through, because there's so much shame in hair, which is redonkulous. But that's what I'm trying to destigmatize for you guys. There is no shame in hair. Everybody's got it. And if somebody's being a booger online, you send the Zap Master, tag me, and I will come for it, okay? But the fact is that hair is it's a thing that we all face, right? Now, when we're talking about how to get through that, to preserve their skin, how do I get through the important points? 1, it's not, you and I both know how PCOS is labeled as a gynecological issue, but it is an endocrine disorder, okay? And I can't make something go away that's not controlled well, okay? It takes longer. So I talk to my patients about finding an endocrinologist that can, so if anybody's on here and doesn't understand this here in the States, we usually have to have a referral to go to an endocrinologist, which makes it harder, okay? But your PCP or your gynecologist can give you that referral to get you to an endocrinologist. I would not have your labs done at your PCP and your gynecologist, because it's not what they specialize in, okay? But I would get the referral and go to one that does. Once you've gotten into an endocrinologist schedule, talk to them and be honest with them about all of the things that are driving you crazy regarding your hirsutism, your cystic acne, all of those little nuanced things that are driving you crazy about your PCOS, so that they understand what the total picture looks like, right? Because yeah, it sucks to have those hairs, okay? But like, I'm going to tell you right now, the bigger fact will be that if you have an endocrinologist understand what your umbrella looks like, okay, you know what you're covered for, okay? So for me, I chased every lifestyle change, okay, for years and years and years. It didn't change the fact that I still had excess androgens that my body did not know what to do with, okay?
Right.
Once I got into the care of the endocrinologist, they could point me in directions of spironolactones, finasteride. They can help me understand how that works within my body. My body, okay? Remember, we are unique individuals. So how it works within your body, they can monitor your progress. They can see where you started and help like fine tune your plan so that you can have a better existence throughout your PCOS journey. These are so important. These are so important for you. And then all of those cool lifestyle changes that you're doing, okay? All of the little things like hitting the gym, eating right, finding the balance in your body, right? It now works better because we know what's happening with your endocrine system, which means that when you come see me and all that hard work that you plan on doing with me, you'll have better results in a faster time frame because we found the balance, and now we can work on the superficial stuff, the hair.
That's great. So talking about treatments, is there a set number of treatments that are required, or is it really just based on the individual?
Individual, absolutely. I can give
Absolutely.
you guys a timeline, okay? But I'm going to tell you right now, the timelines of the past were a rough estimate, and there's still a rough estimate because there is not enough funding in PCOS to understand how to follow it through, okay? Because it is an endocrine disorder that it affects 1 in 5, okay? And we're talking people AFAB, okay? So assigned female at birth, and we're talking bodies that we're now understanding that we need to go and address this. All of those moments, that you will get such a better understanding of your treatment plan and what you need to do for your body once we get that underway. But frequency, depending on your level of hirsutism, it could be once a week for electrolysis. It could be once a month for electrolysis. Depending on your pain threshold, it could be a 15-minute session every time you come in. It could be 4 hours long every time you come in, right? And this is, and I will say that I'm an electrologist that does both electrolysis and laser, okay? So when you guys talk to me, understand that like, I'm going to tell you what is best for you, not what the internet says, okay? So if you come to me and you do have the ability to do some laser, then that will knock off the time and the hours that you spend doing electrolysis.
Wow. I
But
didn't even know
if
you
you're not
could.
a candidate,
Yeah.
it's time wasted. So you got to get with somebody that understands how to read that.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that you could actually combine the two, but that just made my brain go pew, because that opens up a lot of doors for a lot of people. And I think we always get stuck in it's like electrolysis versus laser, and the two should never meet. But that's brilliant. I love that. And I love that for patients, because like you said, it helps cut down on things and give them the best treatment possible. So since we're talking laser now too, are electrology and laser appropriate for all skin types and skin tones?
Skin types, yes, if we're working within certain modalities, okay? Skin tones, yes, within certain modalities. Hair types, no, okay?
Okay.
So the difference is laser requires dark, dense, numerous hairs to be effective, okay? It needs a target to go after. When we laser, we think of like, okay, so an electrolysis probe is a very fine wire. Think of the tiniest filament, the tiniest one you can think of, okay? That is going hair by hair. And that's why it works on all types, because what we're doing is we're inserting it into a follicle, okay? And that insertion into the follicle is what makes it work for the bottom 2/3 of the hair. Now, laser on a face, unless it is beard style growth, and I am talking Like you need to take an objective look at your face and say, do I have male pattern beard growth? If you do, there's nothing to stimulate and you could do laser.
Okay.
If you do not, if there is any accelerated vellus hair, if the hair is too thin, not enough, there is not enough color there, then do not go that laser route, because that's when you get paradoxical hypertrichosis. That's the excess of hair growth based off of laser. Okay. But your technician should be able to assess and plan for that. And from the start. Now, I'm a huge fan of electrologists and laser technicians being the same. Okay. Or working together. Because most laser technicians are trained to fire a laser safely, but not trained to transition to electrolysis. But there are trainers out there like myself that train both, because we are training to get the electrologist's eye to understand when it's laserable and when it's not.
Okay.
Okay. Because the electrologist, the difference in training is 600 hours for electrolysis. Some states are 1,600 hours. Okay. Laser's 40 hours.
Wow. Okay. Big difference.
Big difference.
No, but it makes sense. And I wish more people would educate on both and do both. It makes sense to me. So one of my, I have like two more questions for you. One is, electrology, a lot of times is considered a cosmetic procedure. It's not always covered by insurance. So what are the options for patients that can make it, or how do you counsel patients who want electrology that think that it may be too expensive? Let's put it that way. So
there are places out there, I know, like Nicole, I know many states don't even require laser training. Same with electrolysis. I live in an unlicensed state. Same problem, but yeah, it's a nightmare. Okay, wow. So how would I counsel somebody on that? Let's go back to that thought that popped into my head, and it was like, yeah. Getting them through an understanding of that you can break down the hair, the treatments. It's one at a time. Okay. You do not need to pay for packages of hair removal. You're paying for too much. Okay. Package-based hair removal. Yes, some people can do small area packages, and I'm talking like 3 treatments at a time, but it doesn't benefit you. Pay as you go, because you might not need it. Okay. So there's that. There are financial options out there. There are programs, like a lot of med spas are being able to get into stuff like Cherry. Cherry is an aesthetic financing program, kind of like Care Credit would be for medical. So if their electrologist can do that, it is an option. If you can, I call it my rainy day fund, but your hairy day fund. Okay. Put a little bit away in a bank account that is separate than your normal. Okay. For every time you get a direct deposit into your account, send that $20 to the other account. Okay.
Right.
That's huge. Okay. But you don't have to eat the whole elephant at once. Okay. It's a bite at a time. Okay. A lot of times people assume the big number and not the smaller number, and you can get through this one treatment at a time. So don't do that to yourself. Like, I don't know a better way to say
right.
that. Don't in that space. On the insurance side,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm so sorry. On the insurance side, if your provider can get an NPI number, National Provider Number, you can, underneath certain diagnostic codes, sometimes get hair removal covered. There are 2 different codes that I want you guys to consider when it comes getting hair removal. One is electrolysis. The medical code for that is 17380. For laser, it's 17999. But you need to have a diagnostic code to go with that. So there are that diagnostic code. Usually, like the dermatologist will be able to give you one for hirsutism. The endocrinologist sometimes can as well. So that is an option for you, but insurance companies, because it's considered aesthetic, you're going to have to fight. They will deny. And in many cases, that's the game we play. unfortunately, and appeal, appeal, appeal. If you got time for the electrolysis sessions and you want to try to get reimbursement, it's okay to fight for that coverage. And the more people that fight for the coverage, the more opportunity we have to get coverage.
Absolutely. And there is one other thing that I do want to mention to people, that there are grants available, like PCOS Challenge twice a year does the PCOS Challenge, PCOS Diva Confidence Grant, which gives patients an opportunity to apply for the grant, and their cosmetic treatments would be covered by the grant. So take a look at that if you haven't already. If you have PCOS, check out PCOS Challenge. They have all sorts of grants for cosmetic issues, for infertility, that people don't even realize exist. So there is help out there. And what would be final recommendation if somebody is considering doing electrology? Where could they come and talk to you and find you and learn more?
Okay, so we're going to do two things here.
Okay.
So as I said, I'm an educator primarily. I do have, we have our family med spa. I have an entire team of technicians that can take you on. Unfortunately, I have carpal tunnel right now, so I'm not taking any patients on myself, and I'm focusing on the education side. So you can find me, but I'm going to put you in somebody else's schedule because my hands hurt. So, but I teach, and we have a nonprofit. It's the International Electrology Museum, that during my education events for people who are struggling to afford hair removal, I have student electrologists and visiting electrologists that are increasing their knowledge, offer free electrolysis through my education events. So I will say that there are options out there, and there are schools like myself that do have discounted rates. Yes, you're getting a student, and in most cases, you'll have more irritation when we first start off, okay? And you'll have, more downtime, and they might go a little slower. But if you got the time and you need the help, we got you, okay? So my nonprofit does that. And then we also have the education side of it. Reach out, ask about it, and I can always put you on the list of people that I call when I do those events, okay? And it's whenever I travel to somebody or whenever they come out to me, the same thing. I can set you up in those spaces. If you're looking for a professional to get the job started, and it's not me or my team, electrology.com, which is actually the organization I was vice president for a few years, is amazing, and they do donations to PCOS Challenge. They are phenomenal. And they have a website, electrology.com, where you can type in your zip code, your area, and find an electrologist near you that stays up to date on continuing education. And that's how to find a practitioner near you, okay? Laser's a lot harder to find somebody because there's so many of them and there's not as many electrologists. So if you have a hard time finding laser, there are girls that I've worked with like over the years where I'll kind of like, I'll help them search for somebody locally in their home state. And then I'll make those important phone calls with them. I've done this like probably a handful of times to get the right answers so that they know whether or not the person knows their business. Okay. So, and then because I'm always doing CEU events, I am always staying in touch with my electrology colleagues, which as you see, they kind of came in here because I was like, everybody get online. So I would definitely highly recommend like reaching out to myself. I will get you paired up with somebody locally. I will get you paired up with somebody away from me. I work internationally with education. I have students all over the globe. I can find you places and some obscure electrologists as well. So I'll do my best. And if we can't, then we'll find the next best option.
That's perfect. And you hit on something really important as far as doing something like electrology. We have to remember with everything that we go through that we are worth it. So we are entitled to do things that make us feel better about ourselves, that make us reduce the stigmas that we deal with. And, just like anything else we want, like if you want a big, huge TV to watch a game on. That it's the same thing. You have to allow yourself those things that make you feel good. And I can tell you that Stephanie makes me feel good. She makes everybody she talks to feel good. And I am so grateful to you for coming on and sharing your knowledge with everyone about electrology, about laser hair removal. It's important, and I hope you keep doing what you do because you're so damn good at it. So
I have a lot of fun doing this. The fact is like this hair removal journey, PCOS in general, let's face facts, it ain't an easy journey, okay? And there's not a lot of answers, which is why I got into being an advocate this last year, because even after 18 years from my diagnosis, I had a lot of shame within myself, thinking that I was the culprit, that I was the reason I was overweight and hairy and all that kind of stuff. And the fact is sometimes our body chemistry just kind of like wants to mess with us. But we're going to do this in a way that makes you feel good. Whether you're smiling on my table or smiling on somebody else's table, that's what I want. I want you to walk away from your electrolysis and laser sessions feeling elevated, because let's face facts, when we have to grow out hair on our face prior to electrolysis session, it is an ugly duckling phase that doesn't feel good. But I want to make you feel like the swan that you are. You are gorgeous. We are just removing the follicular veil that's present.
I love that, the follicular veil. I love that. I am going to quote you on that in the future. That is so awesome. But where are you on social media so people can follow you on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook or wherever you may be?
Okay, so online here on Instagram, I'm the underscore, Zap_master, because apparently 1990s me is like DJ Zap Master. So that's the Zap Master is here. Twitter is Steph, STEPH, Shields, SHIELDS, CPE, okay, so Charlie Pilot Echo, and that's my there. And then on TikTok, it's Stephanie Shields, CPE.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting this up on my timeline and inviting you as a collaborator. So I'll put a few words in there, and then if you want to go in and put in all of those different tags so people know where to get to you, I welcome you to do that. And anyone, just again, reach out, ask her questions, and me as well. I'm here for the rest of the month. I will be doing some more Instagram lives. I have another one tomorrow with Jane from Poly, and then a few next week. And next week is Pcos Awareness Weekend in Philadelphia, so I will be sending lots of videos from all of the activities happening there. Stephanie, love you to pieces.
Love you.
And again, thank you for joining me this evening, and I hope to have you back again.
Oh, yes. Peace, love, and hair removal.
Woohoo! Love it.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.